Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, James Protin. Every week I will be sharing the experiences that have defined my journey and talking with people who have their own powerful story to tell. It's about doing better and being better in life, business, and all things in between. The visually inclined can catch us on YouTube, or you can check us out on just about every podcast platform. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. Our guest today is my dear friend, Sydnee Bagovich, who is a self-proclaimed connector for good. And honestly, that's the arena where we met, right? In that networking connector type area. So welcome to the show.
Thanks.
I've only been asking you for a year and a half to be on,
here.
And you finally ran out of excuses.
I did. You kind of wrangled me, JP. You kind of wrangled me.
Well, I mean, if I didn't think you had a cool story, I wouldn't have bothered. But yeah, you really do, because you're doing a lot of different. There's a lot of moving parts to Sydnee. You mean it's a lot. Yeah, juggling a lot of things. You're a career woman. You're an entrepreneur. You're doing like a lot of different stuff. That's cool.
Thanks, man.
So, being a successful professional and an entrepreneur and all of these things, and a connector, a people connector. How do you balance all that? What do you do? I mean, how do you find time to create those meaningful relationships that you need to succeed in business?
It all flows. It all flows. I mean, I am fortunate to have so many different circles of friends, networking friends, work friends, friends from high school, and nothing gives me greater joy than bringing them together and overlapping those circles. And then when I see these friends that I've introduced who are now friends for years and years and years, that's what keeps me going. That those people, anywhere, everywhere, my people. That's what keeps me going.
I mean, that's, you could tell. When I first saw you, before we even were introduced at a networking event, I said, you really know how to work a room. I mean, you don't just, you just go in and take it over.
When we have events, if it's my event, it's my objective to make sure everybody who walks in that room meets people. Come. Let me introduce you. That's my objective, that when people leave, they have met. Not everybody in the room, but most of them.
And you've suggested some really amazing connections to us, to myself, that I carried over to Nick. I mean, you got to meet this person. Hey, you got to meet that person. You got to meet this person. And it's like, where does that inspiration come from? Like, if you're talking to me and you run into somebody out on the street and say, hey, you know what? You gotta meet James Protin. You gotta meet. Where does that?
I have no idea. And you know what? I don't even know when it came about. I mean, it wasn't always like this. I don't know. But I'll tell you something. When I meet people, it doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter if it's professional, if it's a new doctor, if it's a friend, networking. I always greet people the same way. It's always the same. I act like I've known them for years, and I think that people do. They respond to that.
Oh, absolutely.
They just come back the same way, and that's who I am.
Yeah.
Very rarely somebody will do like this, and I'll tone it down a little bit, but no, that's just
you can scare people.
Stop it.
Along those lines, my father said to me once, and I've lived this way ever since, for almost my entire life, because I was young. He said, never meet a stranger. Never meet a stranger. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, never meet a stranger. And I've always been that way. I'm exactly the same way. And I think that's why when you and I first connected, when we met, I mean, I get that vibe from you, the same thing,
Yeah.
So your career, your profession, you work for Vitalant, which is unique in itself, right? I mean, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
What do you do for Vitalant?
I like to say that it's my job to find people with big hearts and big spaces to host blood drives.
Okay.
So that's what I do, and I do it here in Washington County. I'm just always looking for that, and there's a real passion in the mission because, what I do every day is responsible for saving lives.
It saves lives.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So I get to connect people to host blood drives, to get donors, to ultimately help people with patients who need blood.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not love it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, that's very rewarding, and
Up to 3 people's lives. I mean, what else? There's nothing else I know that the average person can do for an hour and save 3 lives.
and save lives. No, and that's a very good way to put it. I mean, that's true. So you're doing this. What did you do before Vitalant?
Oh my goodness, a number of
Can we
things.
dive into that, or is that like?
A number of things. Actually, before I started Vitalant, I was working for a chamber. I was the executive director for a chamber, and I loved it. I loved it. Because what did I get to do? I got to connect people through events. I loved that. And so Vitalant came along, and I was able to maintain both of them because they fed each other. They fed each other, and they fed my soul, right? Same good thing.
Right.
And then when that dissolved, there was a gap, and a void that I needed to fill, and that's where People Connectors came from.
So where'd that idea? How'd you come up with that idea? I mean, People Connectors, which is a cool. It really, I like the name because it describes you perfectly. You know, you and Cindy are People Connectors. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Cindy's your partner. We should
Cindy is my business partner, my high school friend. We only graduated like 10 years ago. We've only known each other for 10 years.
Just a while. Yeah.
But my mom, when we came up with People Connectors, my mom said, "Honey, aren't you afraid people are going to think you're a dating service?" No. No. But when I realized that there was a void, and I did a whole lot of introspection, and I said, I'm a connector. I'm a connector for good. And so our tagline is good people connecting good people for good. And that for good, I like to say there's a play on that word because it means for good, for doing good things, for good content, for good spaces.
Sure.
But it's also for good, for long term, for life, because so many connections I have made have been there for years.
Yeah.
That's where that came from. And
Do you believe, put it that way, that you can develop a lifelong friendship from just meeting somebody in a networking function?
Yes, I do it all the time. Yep.
I thought we agreed about the laughing.
Oh, sorry.
Did we talk about that before we started?
I told you. That's who I am. That's
Okay.
a little animated.
Okay, we'll go.
Just a little
So
animated.
you do some things that require a lot of time. They're stressful, but you have a passion for them, and you love what you do. You love the people part of it. But work-life balance. That's a thing. If you can take and do something in your work that you love in your life, that's great. But how do you find that balance between? How do you turn off this, the work part of it and focus on your life?
I don't know that I do. It just kind of morphs. Every morning I gotta get up and I try to meditate. Now, I know you meditate, so you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say try, right? Because it's an evolution, it's a process, it's a practice.
You don't always succeed.
Right. And I try to do that every day. But I get a lot of energy. One of my nectar for goods is I'm a Jazzercise instructor, and I know you find it hard to believe me up on a stage with a microphone, right? But
I can't picture.
I get so much energy. I get my energy from them, and they are why I stand up on that stage and do it. And it's an hour goes past, and I didn't even realize we worked out.
Yeah.
That is so important to me in who I am.
Is that your place? Is that where you go? What you do to kind of for self-care and things like that?
Absolutely.
Is that your play?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's like it's almost like a play. it's a performance when I'm up on stage, and we just have so much fun. And I pick on people, and I'll say things, and I pull them into the conversation. And but I don't think it's the average aerobic class when I'm teaching.
I would think there's a lot of laughing.
There is a lot left.
It's happy time. It's a good time. It's a good time. I think from just talking to you, you have a loyal following. You really have. You've been doing this a while now, right?
30 years. But
So you
10
started in
years.
elementary school.
I like to say, when we were 2.
And you were just kids.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But I've been
That's good.
an instructor for 10.
Okay.
So
One thing that I've learned about successful people in any area of life, and I think this applies to you just from conversations that we've had, that every successful person I know is a lifelong learner. So what do you do to, be continuously learning and growing and moving forward?
couple of things. First of all, with People Connectors, my partner, Cindy, she's really, really, really good at marketing. I mean, that's her business. Mm-hmm. And she's helped me to learn quite a few things. But I've also played around in new programs like Canva and Constant Contact. And and so I'm learning more with them. But also, I'm part with Dion. I'm part of her Think and Grow Rich mastermind. So I've grown. I've learned so much from that group of people. And she lives and breathes that stuff, right? But I've applied a lot of that.
And Dion Malish, who she's talking about, Dion's been on the show a couple of times.
Yep.
And you're right. And that's a great connection for you. Have you expanded on your connection relationship with anybody else in that group?
I've not. I have not. Some of the people I knew some of those people just a little bit before that. Now we've grown relationships because of that. So
Okay, that makes sense.
So there's a real goodness, I don't even know what the right word is. There's such a feeling and compassion and support in that group, and we meet on Zoom. but
Right.
but there is so much good there's a core group of us. Some people come and go, but there's a core group of us that it's really good.
And that's really cool because it is business focused. It's like an entrepreneur thing. Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, which is it's a book that's very important to Dion. I know that, and I've read it several times. But one of the things that I've always subscribed to, and it's helped me succeed, is that all business is personal. It's all personal. Everything's about relationships, and that what you're talking about. You come there to talk about Think and Grow Rich is definitely it's the business vibe in a lot of different ways, right? But you're developing interpersonal relationships that are going beyond business opportunities.
And
That's cool. So when you combine the two, that's awesome. That is awesome. Do you disrupt that meeting with laughter? Like,
yeah, I'm the one who every so often, I don't talk much. Dion does a lot. She does the leading, and she always makes sure that everybody has a chance to respond. But every so often I'll do all right, guys, I got a mushy moment here. And I just go on and whatever's going on at the time.
Okay.
But yeah, sure.
So, all right. So, you have a chamber of commerce background, and you've been in business. You're a career professional, and you've started a business of your own. What advice do you have to a young person or anybody who might be considering starting a business right now?
Time. Think about time from a really practical and realistic standpoint. Cindy and I came out blazing when we launched our business, and run, do these things. We're going to do all these things, and stop, because we grossly underestimated the impact of working full time when trying to build that. Oh oh no, I'm the person. Oh, I can do that. It's just yet another ball in the air.
Because you're like building this as it's kind of a side hustle right now.
Yeah.
It's what it is. Although this is what you guys want to do, you know, but that's time management. That's hard.
Yes, and time management, but also having time. There's only so much time in a day, and you know, there's only when I start working on this stuff, I can work till night, evenings, weekends, because it's not work to me. It's fun. And every so often, my husband will say, "Honey, did you notice what time it is?" No, because I'm enjoying it. But that's what I would say. Time, and I would also say, listen to your heart. If you're not happy in what you're doing, listen to your heart. That's a problem I had in the past, that I was totally out of alignment. I was wondering why I was having so much, I wouldn't just say trouble, but because it wasn't aligned with my heart. It wasn't speaking to me and who I am. And I knew I was underutilized because I wasn't doing the most good that I know I can do.
Okay. So one thing that I think that all entrepreneurs have in common is you have to have faith. I mean, you have to have faith in something, or it's too easy to quit. You know, when you have that first failure, especially that first big public failure, if you don't believe that what you're doing is bigger than yourself, you know, you're that's when you're going to quit. You know, you're not going to have that inspiration to push through. How big of a role has faith played in your journey?
Primo, big, and it's at the heart of everything with Napoleon Hill too. So that group, we are always talking about faith. But I pray throughout the day, probably like a lot of people do, but I'm always asking for direction and help. And I struggle with when something's going on. Okay, I'm just gonna let this go. I'm gonna let this go. And then no, I got it. But then I realized, I don't know if you've ever heard this phrase that I love. I don't know if it's Tibetan, whatever, but as you pray, move your feet. I love that, because you can't just pray and go sit on a couch and hope that everything's going to work out. Wait a minute, wait for the sign.
Yeah.
But put it out there, let it go, and then, okay, what can I do? What can I do now? And then wait for it to come and wait for it. That's what that came up on our call, on our Dion's call. And they said to me, Sid, you have to listen. I said, how do you listen? No, not literally listen. You just gotta signs, people. Yeah,
it's all there, but you have to look for it and listen for it. Right. Because a lot of people, everything's there. It's swirling around, but a lot of people miss it.
Yep.
Because they're, like you said, they're waiting for something to come to them, and that's the moving your feet.
Yeah.
You know, you have to go. You have to look and listen and move and go out and find. It's there. You just have to go find it.
Yep.
That's crazy. It's great. But I love that phrase. I've heard that too. So, thinking about the future, you know, none of us has a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. But let's go check in a couple of Sydnee's roles here. What are your aspirations for your career, as far as, you know, right now it's Vitalant, you know, so what would you consider success moving forward with Vitalant? What would be success for you?
I want to answer that more globally, okay? I know I'm a light, and what I pray a number of things every day, is where do I need to be where I can shine that light where it can do the most good.
Okay.
The most. Okay. And right now in my talent, I do a lot of good.
Right.
I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the ultimate is. I think people connectors, I believe in people connectors with all my heart. And that's something else that came out of Napoleon Hill. When you believe something so strongly, this is the faith thing too, you were just getting at, right?
Sure.
When you believe something so strongly, regardless of the opposition, regardless of the naysayers, you gotta keep going. And
Right.
I've done that so many times. People connectors with Vitalant.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's something more. And people like you help me to see that, right? People like Dion help me to see that. There's just so much more good that I know I can do. I just got to figure out the where.
And you always need help. You have those angels that come into your life along your way. You know, and I thank God every day for the people that He's put in my path, who have guided me and taught me, mentored me, and lifted me when I stumbled, when I face planted into the mud. You know, not a specific person, but a specific type of person that I felt could help me in an area where I was either neglecting, or I didn't know, or I needed to learn, or something like that.
We call that seeking greater counsel.
Look at you. So, there's two things that I'm going to get into your takeaway here in a minute, but the two things that I'm taking away from this so far are that, you know, first of all, you told me you weren't going to laugh, and you laughed 25 times. You told me you don't talk with
Counting?
your hands, and you're just all over the place. So, what is what would you like the people watching this, our audience, to take away from this conversation about you and about? Let's go with you first. What do you want people to know about Sydnee?
I meet so many good people. And if you don't put yourself out there, you know, meet those good people, and you miss out on opportunities. You know this because you talk to a lot of people, right? When you talk to people and you hear their stories, and you just hear about their vulnerabilities and stuff they've been through and who they are, should you not pursued that and asked those questions, and you would have missed out on that.
100%. Because, you know, everybody wants to be seen, but nobody wants to be seen with the blood stains and this blood, sweat, and tears on their, you know, in all of that stuff, that raw, messy stuff. They want, I want you to see me, but I don't want you to see all that stuff.
Yep.
You know, but that's the stuff that we need to see.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's like you just said, if you just look at somebody's highlight reel, and you look at the surface, if you don't ask questions, if you don't get to know them, you got to pull that out of people.
Right, and when you meet somebody at a networking event and you have that, you know, pleasantries, and then you go meet them afterward. You know,
that's the benefit.
Yes.
That's the benefit.
That's when you just talk. And
that event, you don't get anything out of that event except an opportunity. Mm-hmm. Where you get the benefit is in the follow-up. If you don't follow up, there's no benefit to networking.
Absolutely. You know, have you ever seen the meme about how introverts make friends?
No.
Here's how introverts make friends. 1, they don't. Or 2, an extrovert finds them. And you're right. And introduces them and adopts them.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people in my life who are introverts who now have real, solid friends. That's my heart.
Connector for good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing a little bit about Sydnee and what you do, and you do it very well. So keep on keeping on.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.